So one cool thing about the Ferris cube is I've got the power running in there, ready to go, sealed up. Let's do this.
Look, the storm knocked down that big wire.
Hey, let's jump our bikes over it.
Now, we better move it off the road.
No, you better leave that power line right where it is. There's enough electricity there to fry an elephant.
We didn't think it was dangerous.
You'd have found out too late. Remember, never play around electrical wires or you could be playing with fire.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Okay, a few quick things about these low-cost sensors. You notice I put a special marking on here. This is a unique marking. So I can recognize these all look the same. And so you're going to want to put something visually where you can see it from afar that you know which sensor it is, and you got to give it a name. This one is MNTC. This one is COCR. And the other thing I want to point out is one drawback about these is they don't have a visual readout. So you cannot see from the device what it's reading like you can for some other ones. So as I've already mentioned, I don't like that all of these sensors here are hidden in the back. And while there is air circulating, and it didn't seem to matter with the formalin readings, I'm going to cut open here. I've got a shell here. And I'm going to cut it open and try to expose, for the first part, this formalin sensor here. It's right here. This episode brought to you by the A-Team.
Yeah, I gotta say, we really outdid ourselves this time. Gonna get us killed! Relax, VA.
Okay, this is my first shot at it, and you can see the top of the sensor is right here, so I got to cut more this way. Okay, so this looks really good. Now I'm gonna put in some vents here. I want to basically open this up as best I can, but I think this is a good start here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, this is the heuristic part of this. I'm gonna use common sense. So this is the COCR, this is the MNTC. This one has always been running higher in formaldehyde, except for one time when I was playing around with these. So this one is usually running higher than COCR. So I'm going to put this one into the modified box because I guess my hypothesis is that this is going to help read better. This is going to open it up. I'm going to get a better reading. So if that's the case, and I find this higher than this when they're side by side, then that tells me something, that this might be the change in that. So again, this has been usually very much higher in formaldehyde than this one. So that's why we're going to give this one the enhanced, I'm going to call this the enhanced design for now, and we'll see if it really is enhanced. Okay, initially right off the bat, seeing something unusual here, but first let's look at what are we getting for PM10. Both sensors here, we see that they are very closely aligned. Let's see what we're getting for carbon dioxide. There we see very closely aligned. But now let's go to formaldehyde. And here we see now the COCR is reading higher. Now sometimes when you first start up these sensors, and they get going, you might have this kind of difference. So I'm going to let this sit for a while. Now I closed the front door, and let's see here what we're getting. So here we see 10 parts per billion for the MNTC. Let's see what we get for the COCR. It's actually dropped now. See, this is interesting. So for some reason when it first started up, now maybe that's because I cut into that shell and I heated the plastic. That may be why inside of there, but this is good news. We see that it's dropping. So it's dropped down to 6. And then let's check on the MNTC again. And that's gone up to 12. So we might be correcting now. And that is interesting. I think that, let's try to reset this. So this is the dashboard where you can see both side by side next to each other, which is very helpful. But it's an average over an hour. So that's why this is going to be different. But I think it seems like they are now flipping. So I think possibly what happened there is starting up, there was some, because of the cutting of the shell and the heating of the plastic, there was some formaldehyde inside there, and the COCR picked up on that. So that's very interesting. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these run for an hour with the lid, with the roof off, the front part closed, just to stabilize, and then we'll add the formalin in. All right, the MNTC has returned to its throne. You can see here it's now, as expected, everything is right with the world. It is reading higher than the COCR, and this already shows that I don't think the enhanced shell is really going to show any better uptake. But we'll play it out. I'm going to add some formalin right now. We'll increase the concentration. Again, I've got the fan running in there, so we do have a airflow across the face in the box, and we'll see what happens. All right, we'll stop the presses here. We might have something here. So I just checked on this, and here we see it's 3 o'clock now, so this should be updating pretty quickly here, but we have the COCR has pulled up ahead. Very interesting. In this one here, so we have 2,800. That's a COCR. Let's check the MNTC. 2,700. So this is very interesting. I'm going to open up the roof more. We're getting, again, even with just a milliliter of formalin solution, we're still creating a lot of formaldehyde here. So I do want to get that concentration down. What we're looking at is maybe a possibility of higher concentration. So here we got the update, and now they're about neck and neck. So that's still significant. So we'll see what happens, but I am going to pop the roof open a little bit more to try to calm down the concentration. All right, yeah, so we're going to let this stabilize for a while. We saw a spike in the COCR in the beginning, and we'll see if they kind of regulate now and the MNTC pulls up ahead again. Okay, so I've seen enough here. You can run the presses. There is an interesting observation here where when the formalin is placed in the Ferris cube and the levels rise rapidly, they seem to track very well, and we saw that moment where the COCR was reporting more than the MNTC. So when you have that kind of filling up of the box of the formaldehyde, that's an interesting note that the sensors are match very well. But then we see here's the normal routine. The MNTC is always higher. And in this time, the COCR has the enhanced shell, which if it made a difference, I think you would see it would look a lot different. And so here's another great example. So again, this is every hour. This is a data point every hour. Look at that graph. This is one of them here. This is a data point every 15 minutes. So that just shows you the graph will change. The story will stays the same, but maybe the chapters are different depending on how you average the data. So we have these. This is the same data. This graph contains the same data. So that's interesting to note. But at the end of the day, I don't think the enhanced shell made any difference. Okay, I just wanted to show, so this was back when we did the first test where we took one out of the case and we did stagnant air and with air. And so we do see the same thing. So we see that when the level is rising rapidly, they agree with each other. Here you have the peak rising, and then you see the separation where the MNTC is continually above. And so this was today's testing. So this is a consistency, which I think is good. It's always good if you have a consistency that you can depend on. So if you know what you know, and if it is repeatability, that says something. So, and when you're working in parts per billion, I mean, you think about the difference here between, so this is 1.8 compared to 1.6 parts per million formaldehyde, or 0.5 compared to 0.4 if you're rounding. So this is forgivable, I think, when you're working in parts per billion. And it seems like the shell as it is, even though it's not per the manufacturer's recommendation, I guess is fine. But what I really need to do, if I can ever get the money or get someone to help with it, is to measure the formaldehyde in another way with maybe another direct read instrument and compare that value.
Plexiglass theory.
Everything's just beginning for the games you want to play. Bring it on and I will fight to the end. Just watch and see. It's all started, everything's begun, and you are over. 'Cause we're taking down the CCP.